Welcome, social media and social selling fans, to Making Sales Social Live, brought to you by us, we, whatever you want to say, at Social Sales Link. You've got two-thirds of us here today. I'm Bob Woods, the LinkedIn Sherpa, and I'm joined by a fellow LinkedIn and social selling professional who's also known as the LinkedIn Whisperer, Brynne Tillman. So,
Hi, Bob. Oh, good things. I know. I'm excited about talking. I'm excited to talk about today. And I want to say, as we open this up, that typically what we talk about, we have years of experience testing. We have deep knowledge and, have spent so many hours working with clients, understanding what works and what doesn't work. Right now, collectively, maybe we've got 10 hours.
yeah, well, yeah, I
Maybe you
probably
have
have
more?
more, but I don't want to admit that publicly. So,
So let's talk
yes.
about what we're talking about.
So, yeah, so as Brynne alluded to, we've got another social media platform that is. Threads from Meta is without a doubt the hottest social platform to hit our phones probably ever. And I say that because Threads surpassed the 100 million user point earlier this week. And as of 9 hours ago, Quiver Quantitative estimates it's now up to 107 million. And it didn't even take a full week for Threads to hit that 100 million mark. It's just incredible. So Threads, yeah, it's most definitely a thing now. So I've been on it since the beginning. I'm member number 1,838,118. Brynne has been on it for several days too. Before we deep dive into what we can deep dive into when it comes to social selling, any just proverbial thoughts on Threads overall before we do the deep dive?
Well, I mean, obviously, Threads has good timing, right? Where Twitter is taking a pretty deep dive, uh, and for many reasons. And one of them being, hey, you've got to pay for the blue check mark. And at the beginning, I was like, yeah, I'll pay. I want a blue check mark. I've always wanted a blue check mark.
I just canceled mine, by the way.
And I just canceled mine too. So,
Yep.
right? Like, so, I think that in some ways, Threads is free. It's not there yet, and we'll talk about that. But I'm excited to see where it goes. I will also say most of what Facebook launches fails. So I and LinkedIn too. They launch things and then they're like, oh, we did it for 6 weeks and it didn't work, so let's retire it.
Yeah.
So
LinkedIn has been guilty of that big time lately.
yeah, but Facebook, they launched Branch Out, which was supposed to be the LinkedIn
Oh my
version.
god.
And
I forgot
remember
about
that?
that. Oh
Yeah.
god. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about this. So I'm not going to jump too far ahead, but ultimately, they need to roll out features that will keep people on. Because right now, it's kind of bare naked lady. Like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, so that's actually
that was a band reference, not a
yeah.
yeah. So just for the listeners, I don't want yeah. I'm gonna get so many emails on that. I thought you were a
We're
feminist. Okay, go ahead.
we're
Anyway.
we are now turning into a, FM morning zoo program here.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
we're
love
gonna
FM
tune
morning
in
zoo.
today, and we're gonna talk more about Threads. So, actually, let's focus in on Threads and the current feature set. So, as Brynne said, yeah, it's pretty bare right now. It's posting is, and here are kind of like the high points. There are obviously others that we won't get into, but the ones that we probably care about the most are posting wise, it's 500 characters, so it is a little better than the original Twitter when it comes to that. So you got 500 characters to deal with. You can do links to external sources. You can do photos right away, including animated GIFs, although sometimes it has problems taking uploads of animated GIFs. Ask me how I know.
How do
And
you know?
because I have failed a couple times myself. And it can do videos up to 5 minutes in length, which is a little different from Twitter. The video part is interesting. I'm not. This is something that I'm really still not sure about if videos actually belongs on Threads because it's supposed to be a little different from Instagram in that it's much more text based and much more conversational, whereas Instagram is obviously a little more, hey, I'm an influencer and I don't necessarily care about what people have to say. Threads is about conversations. Threads is about community. So it's kind of like Twitter back in the good old days, and I'm talking like 2007 when I first started on Twitter. That's when it was fun. That's when people were building communities. I was in a couple of kind of communities in air quotes on Twitter back then, and it was fun. And there was a lot of good discussions and exchanges of information and things like that. This was before it descended into the swamp and cesspool that it is nowadays. So, all that being said, Threads is missing several things that other socials have that we in social selling kind of depend on. So, direct messaging is one thing that it's missing. Although, from what I understand, and actually one of the product heads from Meta actually dropped a link into a thread that I had that seemed to indicate to me that they're not only planning on it, but it's probably going to be in a way similar to what direct messaging is on Instagram, if not maybe more tightly integrating it with Instagram. And it might also use the Facebook Messenger too. So it is planned. It's just not there yet. The next thing is separate for you and following tabs. If you're a TikTok user, you know that this is pretty big. For you is algorithm driven. Following is much more based on the people who you follow. Right now, it's all kind of jumbled together and it's kind of a mess. You can't even sort by latest and top, which is something that you can do on LinkedIn, for example. So we have that going on. Edit functions and posted threads. Right now, you can't edit those. Searchable hashtags, which I think is huge. You need to have searchable hashtags. There's no doubt about that.
They
And
don't
then
right now,
they
right?
don't right
Yeah.
now. Yeah, they don't have that right now. And then the ability to do deeper searches for users. Right now, you can literally search, I think, by just username and maybe the person's real name, and that's it. There's nothing else involved there. All of those are some of the big features that we need in social selling. So that's why I'm saying that the ultimate viability of using social selling on threads is it's really going to depend to a certain extent, not everything, but to a certain extent on the features it's going to roll out in the future. What do you think about that, Bryn?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many things that aren't here yet. But what I'm blown away by is the numbers. You started to say we're up to 107 million people on this platform. And I'm sure because it was so easy to directly link it from your Instagram to
That has
Threads.
a lot to do with it.
Right, and it was so easy to do, and I didn't have to really fill out my profile. It did it for me. It brought things over. So it made it really easy. I'm challenged with a few things, and I like a few things. One of the things I'm liking is very similar to when you upload a PDF or pictures to LinkedIn on the
Yeah.
homepage. It has the carousel.
Carousel. That's neat.
And Threads has that, and I really like that
Yep.
experience. And so you can tell stories, you can pull up, it's not just a collage, It's a flip book, right? And and so I think that's really cool. And so if they bring out features, continue to bring out more features that Twitter doesn't have, along with the features that they do have, we're going to be great. So definitely hashtags. I would love to categorize beyond hashtags if possible. Maybe we can tag specific categories. Like
Yeah.
hashtags, you could have sales tips, sales and marketing tips, sales strategies. And so to find all of those, and this is a frustration on all social media for me, to find all of those, you have to bring in all of those hashtags. But what if we had categories and subcategories
I
that,
get to see that. That'd be cool.
yeah, so there are a lot of things I'd love to see that are not, anywhere yet. Um, that I think if we stick to the same old hashtag, I have a feeling it's not going to have the same exciting impact.
Yeah, that's a good point, and then that's actually something that I never thought of, especially when you consider that in, for Instagram posts, you're actually supposed to keywords, or you're actually supposed to, hashtag stuff
Right.
in this case. LinkedIn's algorithm specifically, dings people when they do that, which I think is good because it makes you think
I do too.
about what you're gonna actually categorize these things under. Instagram encourages, hashtag stuffing, and I really, really hope that that mindset doesn't come over to Threads, just because I've seen some Instagram posts that are just mind-boggling in terms of how many, hashtags that they have there.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
agree. So hopefully we'll see some new stuff there.
yeah,
I'm having fun with this. I'm having fun. I didn't realize when I pulled this over, I should have because I do social media for a living, that I immediately followed everyone that I was on Instagram.
right. Yep.
What I noticed, and I, again, like I have literally 10 seconds of experience here, so I don't want to.
Mhm.
I could be saying something that I'm missing, but some people I followed right away, and some people had to accept my follow.
Yeah, I noticed that too. And that's something that I've noticed. I really haven't dove into why that is yet. I have a feeling it has something to do with their privacy settings over on Instagram. Beyond that, I don't really know. Um, but that's a very
So
interesting point.
Jennifer
Like I said, I
Wilner,
think it's
yeah,
private.
yeah. So I love it. Jennifer Wilner, I'm done with hashtags. Posts should be more content rich than using fake hashtags not relevant. Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
like, and appropriate hashtags are great. We use a hashtag SSL Insights, so that most of our content, whenever we use it, can be found in one stream. So I would love to continue to do that. And
Yep.
there is a place for hashtags, but I would love a better way to categorize your content and make it found easier by the people that want to consume it.
Yep. So before we get to the communities on Threads, because I do think that that's going to be the ultimate driver, I had a thread hit my timeline literally 35 minutes ago from, Matt Turk. I think that's how you pronounce his last name, from First Smart Capital, which is a New York City VC firm. He says, and this is really interesting, the company that should have launched Threads is actually LinkedIn. Real
Mm.
identities, in other words, no Guy Fawkes profile pictures, etc. And I'm reading directly from his, thread right now. Existing professional graph, huge network, an opportunity to transform the content tone on the platform from humble brag to meaningful conversations among industry participants. And I do think
Mm.
that there's a thread of truth there, because a thread,
No
sorry,
pun intended.
yeah, literally no pun intended there. Because I do think that even though, we as social sellers, we do encourage, free conversations and things like that within our own posts, doesn't necessarily happen like that all the time though. For whatever reason, and I think it's mindset, on other people who are using Threads, there are a lot more real, true conversations going on Threads than there are on LinkedIn right now.
Absolutely. And, it's interesting because the culture of commenting on LinkedIn is great post. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yep.
Yeah. So you're right. It does not really encourage conversation. And where Threads is, and I'm seeing some really healthy debates on
Yeah.
Threads. I'm seeing some I have not engaged a ton yet. I'm the kind of learner that
Hmm.
will serve for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, I think the only post I put there is like, "Hey, Thread peeps, how are you using this for business development?" So, and now I'm like watching and listening and
Yeah.
learning.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, whereas me, I tend to, like, go in head first, and sometimes I will bonk my head on the bottom of the pool when I go in head first, but,
but
you
it's
know,
great.
it's the beginning,
Yeah.
and I do think that things are being shaped on Threads right now that are more user driven as opposed to what Meta wants for Threads, and maybe they coincide, maybe they don't, I don't know. It just I'm not really sure what Meta's ultimate thinking is with Threads. But I do know that Meta does really want to encourage communities on Threads, which is the next thing that I want to talk about. So, you know, it's, it's kind of like LinkedIn, where not every industry is necessarily on LinkedIn. I want every industry to be on LinkedIn. They're all just not there. And that's just the way it is. But like LinkedIn, if your industry vertical is on Threads, you have the opportunity, and this is a unique opportunity now because Threads is barely a week old. You had the opportunity to be one of the first people there to help out people in your vertical with questions, with comments. And one of the things that I've been seeing in Threads that I think have been very successful because I've used this myself is that because discoverability is so difficult on Threads right now, you have people who are listing other people in their vertical to follow. And I think that those threads alone, and yes, I did mean to say threads that time, those threads alone, I think are hugely valuable and deliver value because this is something that Threads, the platform, is not really offering right now. And that's actually one of the tips that I'm going to have farther down below because I do have a couple tips for people who are social selling. But, there are likely some people out there who you want to have conversations with on Threads. You just got to find them. And that involves the algorithm a little bit there. And there is an algorithm. So what
Yeah.
I've
Can
been
I
yeah, please go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So no, it's all good stuff. I mean, I'm literally playing with it as we're here, right? And
Sure.
one of the things I liked about Twitter, you could share a link to a tweet,
Yeah.
right? And I'm looking, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm looking on in Bob Woods, and I click on the three dots, and it's unfollow, mute, hide, or report. There's no link to the thread unless
Yeah,
I'm
actually,
missing it.
you can do that. It's
Okay, good.
with the paper airplane. When you click on the paper
Oh,
when you got add to story,
excellent.
post to feed, tweet, copy link, and then share
Thank
via.
you.
And
Thank
then
you,
when you
thank
click on
you.
share via, that's when a bunch of the other, socials will pop up, including Twitter, including LinkedIn. So, I don't know if
That's
I've
great.
seen anything
So
from
if you wanna start drawing in, engagement, that's perfect.
yeah,
You
that's the way to
can
do it.
right, yeah, you can now bring that. I'm gonna do one of those today. I'm gonna do, a threads and link it to a post.
Yep,
And I think it's interesting. Now I'm also hoping, and we'll see, on LinkedIn, you could click a little box, and every time you post, it can tweet out for you,
yep,
which I typically do. It would
same
be
here.
nice if Threads becomes a integrated option when I share on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
So
I'm not so sure it'll be integrated very tightly with Twitter just because of the shenanigans and hijinks
oh
going
no,
on between.
In
Oh,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I'm just saying just in general, I don't know if I'd expect that from Twitter. So,
Yeah, but Twitter has a direct link, an API link into
yeah,
LinkedIn. So you can actually, if you add your Twitter when you share content, you can have it automatically tweet out.
yeah.
So I'd like it, and so what are we going to call it? Are we gonna so Twitter is we tweet. What's Threads going to be? We sew.
Yeah, as there are people talking about that. One of the first things that I posted about on there was we need nomenclature. We need these types of things to be named because Twitter got all this stuff named eventually. I'm pretty sure that that was all community driven though. So I have a feeling that the community is going to decide this. So,
Yeah, right. It will be, and it'll become new like new words in the dictionary. But I don't.
exactly.
I've
Yep.
struggled. Twitter tweets. By the time I knew about Twitter, tweets was already there. I am curious what Threads is going to be, and is it all going to be around the idea because they have the thread, right? So there's some string or yarn or whatever it is in their
Right.
mindset around Threads. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Is a
No idea.
conversation going to
Uh,
be, yeah, the hem? I don't know.
yeah. And my wife just started sewing again. She would appreciate that. So, with that, let's get to the question that I'm sure is probably on a bunch of people's minds. Can threads be used for social selling? So, my take is yeah, I'm not 100% sure yet, only because the features aren't built out yet. It's going to be interesting to see more once they roll out. But the one big thing that I think is good that may start you in a direction towards whether or not deciding whether or not you should be on there and actively using it is your community, the audience of people that you want to attract and to start having sales conversations with in a non-salesy way. If that audience is on there, because if they ain't on there, forget it. You don't need threads.
They
But
will be, though. I'm going to say
yeah, I have
they
a feeling
will
it will be.
be.
I have
And
a
I
feeling it
think,
will be.
there you mentioned, there are certain industries that are not on LinkedIn. And it was way worse, like teachers
Yeah.
and initially physicians and nurses and mechanics. And so for a long time, none of them were on. And we knew there were industries that had a big gap inside
Yep.
LinkedIn. But as the years go by, it's interesting that a lot of them have profiles now because it's their professional resume. We're not saying any, but that's why they're on. And so I believe that almost everyone, if Threads takes off, I mean, almost everyone I know in the professional world has a Twitter. Whether they use it or not, I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But almost everyone has one. And even if you just want customer service from your electric company, you need Twitter. So let's see if this translates into Threads. But I do think
Yeah.
if it does succeed, just be there now.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Just
be
be there.
there.
Be there. Be there.
Yeah.
Maybe drop some stuff every once in a while just to have some presence. Maybe drop some value added content. If you're like, hey, everything that I'm doing right now is working well, I don't know if I need threads. You may want to be there and may just do some stuff every once in a while just to have a presence there. Because what happens if threads really takes off and everybody all of a sudden really wants to be there and you're just starting out? I don't think you want to be in that position. I think
Yep.
you want to have a presence there at least. Even if it's not a great presence, you want to at least be there. And if you don't have Instagram, you got to sign up for Instagram first and then do that. So just make sure that you know that. And there's all of the privacy things about Meta and everything else too, which we won't get into here, but I do think that that is a concern for some people. So just make sure you know about all of that as well.
You can sign up as a company, though. right?
Yeah, you
Like
can sign up
Threads,
as a company.
you
Yeah.
could be a brand, so it doesn't
Yep.
have to be you personally.
Yep. That's a good
Um,
point.
if you feel like that's important.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. So, so Stitch, Jennifer, that's funny. Call them threats,
call them
Fred A.
threats. That's funny.
I love that. That's great.
So
So,
yeah. This is
yeah,
my Stitch. Maybe one comment is a stitch.
there you go. That's it. Yeah, they don't have to be long. I mean, actually, they can't be long because they're only 500 characters. So, with that, got a couple of starter social selling strategies for Threads.
Oh, good.
I do. I come prepared. So, the first one is actually my old Twitter channeling strategy, can be used just as well here. In fact, you can do this on any platform as long as within the profile of the platform, you can provide a link to an external source, which Instagram has that, even Facebook has that. You can also do this on Threads. So, just have your LinkedIn profile URL as that link so that you can push people to LinkedIn and that you can actually start potentially those sales conversations on LinkedIn because there is direct messaging on LinkedIn. I think that until Threads comes up with its own DMing platform strategy, whatever, that this is probably the best way to get started. An added bonus is that when you do see people come over to LinkedIn from Threads, you're not going to necessarily see that they came from Threads rather, but they will show up in your who's viewed your profile as long as their settings allow that type of exposure. So I do like that. The next one is what I mentioned before, build and share a list of people in your community. Because again, discoverability, quite frankly, sucks on Threads right now. You, if you are seen as that resource by doing nothing more than just collecting ats of the people who are in your community and start sharing that, you're automatically going to be seen as a thought leader, at least because you know about all these other people in your community. What better way to be a thought leader than saying, hey, I follow these other people. I'm going to help you follow these other people too. Really
Mhm.
helps you to become an organizer of your community. The other big one, I think, is as we had a lot of interest in this podcast episode ahead of time because not everyone knows about Threads. Feed into that. Teach how to use Threads in your community. Everyone can use help on this. Be seen as a leader in your community by teaching Threads, especially if there are ways that you could figure out how to use Threads specifically for your community that your community can benefit from. Man, will you be a thought leader at that point? And there are plenty of articles out there that can easily help you generate content for this. As long as you have like web chat GPT with chat GPT, you can even have that as well. You can even ask chat GPT too, because web chat GPT gives you real-time access to Google and it will be able to search Google because it can't when it's just chat GPT right now. You need that web chat GPT extension for Chrome to actually do that with chat GPT. But that's a way to like maybe even generate some ideas on how you can help people your within your community. So before we conclude, Brynne, any ideas or anything like that?
Yeah, I think this is about right now nurturing. It's not a
Mhm.
prospecting form. We
Yeah, that's
can't
a good way to put it.
search, right? We can't really search and find people easily. Once we can, then we can engage and move it into trust-based conversations for sure. But if
Mhm.
you look at it right now, it's a content branding and nurturing platform. It is an important piece of social selling to be out there. Um, and again, I don't know what it looks like to have all kinds of engagement versus sharing. We don't know the algorithm and all the other things. But
Right.
to your point, Bob, just show up, be there, be an early adopter, I think if it does take off, it's going to have a huge impact on branding and thought leadership. And if it doesn't take off, well, it's just another
You had some
blab.
fun. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh man, I love Blab. I
I love
cried
blab
when
too.
Blab went away, and don't worry
Meerkat.
if you don't know about it because that was another hot minute type of thing, but Blab was a video-based platform where people could pop in and out. It was great. So anyhow.
It was a
So,
video clubhouse.
yeah, video club yeah, it was kind of a video clubhouse that never took off, and
It's
it
so
was a
sad. I actually think it took off and they retired it anyway.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Were they
I
bought
don't
or something,
know.
or they just it was weird.
They probably ran out of money. I mean, that's what
Yeah,
that's
that
what happens to
yeah.
all of them.
VC said, "Yeah, that's enough."
Which we don't
S
have to worry about with Threads. They're not gonna
Yeah,
run out of money because they have all
yeah,
our
well,
Facebook money.
hopefully not as long as, keeps on, keeps the money a flowing. So, as it's been a hot minute since Threads was released, as we've been saying all along, we truly can't say if it's a viable social media channel for social selling. It's gonna depend on features, and it's gonna depend on your community. You gotta have your audience there. So that's why we're saying be there in the beginning. So follow Brynne and me on LinkedIn and on Threads, and we'll update you on the continued rollout of Threads in our posts and whether or not we think that it's cool or not for social selling. And somewhere down the road, depending on how all this stuff shakes out, we're probably going to have another podcast episode where we're going to re-examine things and let you know our updated opinions there. Does that sound like a plan, Brynne?
Sounds like a plan. Maybe if you're the audience out there, if you know of anyone who's killing it on Threads, no one is yet. But as you see, as it
Oh,
rolls out,
sure.
are there people killing it on Threads? I don't know.
There are some people that are killing it on Threads, but they're more of the influencers and comedy and people like that. I mean,
Okay.
business-wise, I don't think there are, but there are some people who are actually doing really well on Threads.
So I'm going to
If you wanna
crowdsource this. I'm going to crowdsource this.
Yeah,
So if you guys see someone who's killing it for business development, introduce them to Bob and he'll interview them.
there you go. I would love that. I would
Yeah.
love that. And if you know anyone at Wendy's, because my God, Wendy's is crushing it and they have the most bizarre content, but it works. It works so well. And you wouldn't expect that out of a Wendy's, but they're doing it well.
Can I go off topic for a second?
Go off.
Well,
Absolutely.
so little known fact about my family. My niece, Morgan Smith Goodwin, was the Wendy's in the Wendy in the Wendy's commercial for the 3-year stint where they
Oh,
had
yeah.
one. That was my niece.
I knew I recognized that name when you said it. Yeah, I know exactly who you're
Yeah,
talking about. That's incredible.
yeah,
That's something.
yeah.
So we went off on another thread there.
Another
Yeah,
thread.
another thread.
Oh, I wonder. Oh, here's a feature, if then threads. If you think
Oh,
this, discuss here. If you think that, discuss here.
there we go. Meta, are you listening?
Are you listening? I
Are
love
you
that
listening?
idea.
I kinda hope they are actually. So, with that, thanks again for joining us on Making Sales Social Live. If you're with us on live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter right now, maybe it'll be Threads one day. I don't know. We'll have to see. We do this every week, so keep an eye out for our live sessions. If you're listening to us on our podcast, go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want more info on the podcast, it's blah, 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 socialsaleslink.com/podcast. We do 2 shows weekly. We do this one and our interview series where we talk with leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, and many more areas. If you know of Threads experts who can help us in social selling, we would love to interview them for the interview series. So let us know. In the meantime, when you're out and about, be sure to make your sales
So